We have a worrying new snapshot tonight of the crisis across Canada's healthcare system. A new report in Ontario shows how exhausted and burned out nurses are amplifying concerns that staffing shortages will compromise patient care.
Imagine a world where you're struggling with healthcare problems and you can't get the help you need. The system offers you a way out, but not through treatment, but rather through death. Now, that might sound like a dystopian nightmare, but the reality is, right now, in countries like Canada, this is actually happening today. In this video, we're going to talk about the rise of assisted suicide pods and what this morally troubling trend might mean for the future of healthcare. I'm Dr. Dynamo. And on this channel, we talk about all kinds of health trends, and I try to bring you guys my perspective on health. This topic we're diving into today was recently brought to my attention by a variety of YouTube channels, and I thought I'd lend my perspective and maybe shed light on a trend that even up till recently, I didn't even know was going on. So let's break it down. Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying program, or MAID, started in 2016 to help those with terminal illnesses end their suffering with dignity. But since then, it's expanded to include a much broader range of conditions, even mental health challenges, and now assisted suicide pods have entered the conversation. Designed to give people control over ending their lives in a peaceful environment, these pods are a stark new addition. Yet, for many, this is where things start feeling more dystopian than compassionate. Take, for instance, the example of a woman with chronic health issues who said she felt pressured to consider MAID because it was difficult to get adequate care for her condition. Stories like this raise disturbing questions. Are we as a society starting to say that death is preferable to caring for the vulnerable? You know, Canada's healthcare system is facing numerous challenges, just like our healthcare system is here in the States. From extensive wait times to the lack of mental health support, many Canadians can't get the timely, comprehensive care they need. A study found that patients are waiting longer and longer than ever, sometimes months, to see specialists or receive surgeries. So what happens when people with chronic conditions are offered MAID rather than treatment for their conditions? It's not just an ethical issue. It's a failure to provide the care that every human being deserves. I found an example of one person who shared their experience of being asked about MAID options before they'd even received adequate pain management. This story sheds light on similar stories. People in need of care offer death as a solution instead. It's hard to ignore how morally complex this issue is. When we consider autonomy and the right to choose, MAID may seem like a compassionate option, but we have to ask, if you're denied proper care, is choosing MAID really a free choice? Advocates from disability rights groups argue that in a system where basic health needs aren't met, assisted death becomes a substitute for healthcare. This issue touches on human dignity. Are we inadvertently saying that some lives are less worth fighting for? When people with disabilities, such as the elderly, or those with mental health struggles, feel pressured into MAID, it's a signal that something is deeply wrong. Now, I wanted to be objective when making this video, and I don't want it to come across that I'm entirely on one side of this issue and haven't at least taken the opportunity to try to view it from an objective perspective. One angle I think that's important to consider is a different take on MAID. Let's shift perspectives for a moment. In end-of-life care, MAID can offer patients a sense of control over their final moments. Studies show that in the last few months of life, healthcare costs skyrocket due to hospital interventions. For some, opting for assisted death rather than extraordinary measures that might prolong suffering is a choice rooted in dignity and autonomy. In countries like the Netherlands and Belgium, where euthanasia laws are more developed, the option is carefully regulated and available for terminal patients. often providing relief from unnecessary pain and interventions. This is a conversation we should have. When does care turn into unnecessary prolongation of suffering? And how should medicine honor the dignity of the patient? This is a conversation we should have. When does medical care turn into unnecessary prolongation of suffering? And at what point does dignity and autonomy take precedence for the patient? One key difference to keep in mind about all these systems is that MAID is usually a last resort option for the terminally ill. In Canada, however, some people are being offered death before they even get adequate care. And that to me feels like an abandonment of medicine's core mission. We have to ask, is medicine's goal to heal and alleviate suffering, or to offer an easy out? When assisted death is more readily available than mental health care, it looks less like compassion and more like a disturbing shortcut. And those suicide pods, there's something undeniably inhuman about it. Death delivered in a machine. For me, it's hard to reconcile the inhumanity of a system that would rather offer you a pod to die in than get you the care you need to live well. Instead of a compassionate healthcare system, it feels like Canada's MAID expansion reflects a failure to protect the vulnerable. So what do we do? To me, this isn't just a question about medical care in Canada. It's a question for anyone who values compassion in healthcare. Are we willing to invest in helping the most vulnerable amongst us? Or are we quietly endorsing death as an easier option? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, these are not easy conversations, but sometimes it's the hard conversations that are the ones that we have to have in order to make the most progress as a society. Until next time, guys, stay dynamic. Peace.